All right, people, welcome back to Bible and Blues. If you can see behind me, I have a new screen system. This particular one is blue. Let me show you here real quick, okay? See, it's blue. So I also, on the flip side of this particular one, is green. But if you look at the backdrop I'm using, it's actually a green, color. So I thought, the other system worked pretty good. I mean, you were able to see the whole thing pretty well. But I thought this would be different, and also it sets up really fast. Okay, this is like, pop-up style tent almost. One stand and away we go. So, without further ado, we're going to be doing rooms, obviously. Chapter 4. I haven't done rooms for a while. So I have my energy drink that is really, really bad for you. They're not paying me. You don't get to see it. Hopefully I don't bore you too much. I actually get relatively decent views on this. Without further ado, let's start with Chapter 4 of Rooms by Robert L. Rupart. Chapter 4. The door hadn't been there the day before, had it? Micah pushed his front door closed with a soft click, never taking his eyes off the one at the end of the hall. He'd done a full tour of this part of the home the day before and didn't remember a room even being there, let alone leaving a light on. He hung his leather coat on an oak peg near the staircase, then eased down the hall toward the open door. He pushed it open the rest of the way with 2 fingers and peeked inside. It was well lit. Too well lit. So bright he had to squint. At least 20 spotlights drilled down on a variety of magazine covers sitting on glass pedestals. Other pedestals held plaques. Still others had laminated newspapers articles sitting on top of them. Even before Micah's eyes adjusted enough to see clearly, he knew what the room was. How could... He squeezed his eyes shut. When he opened them, he half expected the room to be gone. It was a shrine to his meteoric rise in the world of software. Micah and Julie were on the cover of each magazine displayed. Forbes, Businessweek, Wired, Fast Company, and more, as well as newspaper articles from the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and the New York Times. The plaques were awards Rimsoft had won from their first up to an award from last month. Whoever collected them hadn't missed a thing. Micah shook his head. Wow. Weird. He gazed at the walls filled with photos of Julie and himself. Pictures from the earliest days of the company up to the present. Just the 2 of them along with movie stars, athletes, and leaders of the world of software. It must have taken months to dig all this up. As Micah contemplated how they'd done it, he noticed a small door at the back of the room, only open an inch or 2. He walked over to it and pushed, but it scraped to a halt after a foot and a half. He leaned his shoulder into it, and the hinges squealed in protest, but opened enough for him to enter. For a new house, this door was decidedly out of place. The room was dim, and Micah couldn't find a light switch, but his eyes slowly adjusted from the glare of the room he'd just left. The only light came from an oil lamp sitting on an oak nightstand in the corner. More oil lamps circled the room, all sitting on oak stands, all unlit. Their charred wicks were evidence they'd burned once, but all were now out of oil. He turned back to the still-burning lamp. Next to it rested a Bible, covered in a fine layer of dust. Beside the Bible were 2 pictures. Michael was in both of them. In the first picture, 5 kids and he handed out egg salad sandwiches at Seattle's Union Gospel Mission. On the second, his arm was around his best friend from high school with youth group. Micah smirked. He was really into religion back then. Almost against his will, he approached the other lampstand. On it was a sheet of paper. He held it up and squinted at it in the dim light. Micah gasped. Impossible. Where would Archie have found it? It was a flyer for a concert. The concert. The one he'd gone to on a whim. The one where he decided to follow God. Sweat covered his palms. This was beyond strange. It was bizarre. There's no way Archie's builders could have gotten that flyer. The pulse on his neck beat double time. He never understood people who had panic attacks. How could they go from feeling normal to expecting their body would explode at any second? Now he knew. He slowed his breathing. No help. Goosebumps broke out on his skin. Archie wanted to highlight his career? Fine. Nice display. But the other room? Why dig so deep into his past? Who cares? Archie. The words in his letter rang in Micah's head. Time to face your past. It is time to deal with it. He rubbed the scar on his hand and made himself breathe slower, pulling up long dead memories that were none of anyone's business. Why go to this much trouble to weird him out? His body yelled run, and his mind joined the chorus. But where? Out onto the beach? The highway? Nothing was attacking him. Nothing was after him. So why was he trembling? Get control. He ground his teeth as he forced himself out into the hallway. He closed the door. Micah stared at the knob as if it might open and suck him back in. Make him face... No. His breathing calmed, but his hands still shook. He shoved them into his pockets. It helped slightly. What was wrong with him? Micah jogged into his living room and burst through the French doors onto the deck. As the ocean wind whipped through his hair, his dad's comments about the precarious condition of Archie's sanity came back to him, which meant one of two things to his father. Either Archie was consumed with God, or he had never made any money. The building of the house ruled out the latter, so Micah assumed Archie was, in his dad's words, a Jesus freak. His dad believed all Christians had a serious crack in their psyche. He wasn't vindictive about it. To Daniel Taylor, it was a fact. When Micah started following Jesus during his sophomore year of high school, his dad wanted to send him to a psychiatrist. In the end, they agreed to make it a taboo subject, which pushed them even further apart if that was possible. During college, the world of software captured him, and the whole God thing had faded. It wasn't overt, just a slow slide into the back burner of his life, and then off the back of the stove to sit with the dust on the grease spots where Micah didn't miss it. But obviously not missed by everyone. Archie had built 2 shrines, one to Micah's worldly success, one to his God-stuff past. God was fine at one time, but that time was over. Whoever pulled off this stunt for Archie has stepped over the line. Micah grabbed one of the Adirondack chairs on his deck and tossed it against the railing. The idea of someone digging up his ancient history felt like someone had broken into his mind. Micah stumbled back down his deck stairs till his feet thudded on the wet sand. He plopped down on a battered, rain-soaked log, not caring about the dampness seeping through his pants. In his mind, he slapped a roll of crime scene tape across the door of the shrine room. He'd slaved to create his software empire. He wasn't going to let some crazy great-uncle slam it for him. That night, he had a double bacon cheeseburger at Bill's Tavern and Brewhouse. Afterward, he drove up to Astoria and plunked down money for a raunchy comedy he almost walked out on, just like he'd done in Seattle a week before. Why did he watch those things? He always felt like he wanted to take a shower afterwards. Simple answer. They were the best way he'd found to keep from thinking about the past, about the ever-pressurized world of software, and at the moment, the 2 rooms in Archie's house, both screaming at him, one screaming louder than the other. He woke Monday morning as gray gave over to the light of day. Only a few lazy clouds hung over the ocean. Micah walked out to sit on his deck, but his feet kept moving, and shortly the waves sent ice pricks into his feet and ankles. He stared at the ocean, and it stared back with no expectations, no pressure, no stress from frantic employees or clients pounding on his brain. Heaven. So what if Archie was a little eccentric and had given him a blatant message from beyond the grave? He'd junk the stuff in both rooms, keep the door shut, and let the questions they asked die a quick death. He turned back to Archie's gift. A thread of light pushed over the mountain ridge to the east and lit up the top of his roof like gold. He faced the ocean and drew in its pungent smell. This had been his favorite place in the world before his mom died, before his sandcastle world was washed away with one massive wave. Maybe part of him did belong here. No, it didn't. Sorry, Archie, the past will stay there. No question, he'd sell the place. He strode through the salt water, swirling around his ankles, back toward the stunning house. But not right away. After breakfast, Micah pulled in onto Highway 101 and headed for Seattle. Traffic was light and he made good time, even with the rain that pelted down as soon as he hit Olympia. In less than 4 hours, he crossed the Seattle city limits. 22 minutes later, his tires squealed as he pulled into his parking spot in his condo garage. He'd take a quick shower and then head for the office. Micah pulled out his cell phone to record his mileage, a habit he'd held over from the early days of Rimsoft. Eat top ramen 6 days a week, never turn on a light unless forced to, and record everything possible for write-offs on the old tax return. He squinted at his odometer and looked back at the file on his cell. Strange. Didn't seem right. Micah did a quick calculation in his head. It couldn't be. Again, he looked at the odometer and the total on his cell phone. Too weird. One of the two machines was wrong. Had to be. Or he'd just driven 16,341 miles in the past 2 days. Wow. Here ends Chapter 4. So, wow. That was quite the room, wasn't it? I mean, how would you like to, walk into a room, that you didn't even know was there? Presumably it wasn't there just the day before. And now it's there, and you are you're looking at a shrine to your accomplishments. Okay, great edification. Love that. Makes me feel good. I'm glad that Uncle Archie really cares that much about me. And then there's another room, and it's blasting you with the past, with far past. I mean, when you accepted God during youth group back in high school, and and you did mission trips, and you were all gung ho, and all you thought you put that away, and yeah, so that's crazy, and pulling up all this information that nobody could have known. So what did you think? What do you think about that chapter? Was it good? I mean, did you like it? Did I do a good job reading it? I tried to put some inflection in my voice and everything, and so just to make it a little funner for you to listen to. So anyway, hey, I hope you have a great evening. I'm going to try to get some guitar practice in and enjoy the rest of my evening. Dinner is over an hour out yet. But you have a great night. Love you all. And see you in the comments section below.